Yeah, I can go over in a video how to throw a baitcaster. Hello? Yeah, sure, I can teach you how to go over throwing a baitcaster without backlashing. Hello? Yeah, I can go over how to throw a popping cork with a baitcaster. What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about baitcasters and everything that you need to know about them. So y'all have given me 3 questions that I'm going to go over in this video. 1. Jaden, what is a baitcaster? 2. How do you use a baitcaster without getting backlash? 3. How do you use a baitcaster without getting backlash while throwing popping corks? So what is a baitcaster? A baitcaster is a casting reel that has a spool on the inside. On the outside has your brake knob. On the inside has your brake knob. On the very inside has your reel handle. And underneath the reel handle you have your star drag. And then on the front side you have a thumb bar, which allows the line to come out freely. Now at first a bait casting reel will come off as scary, hard to use, only professionals use it, only people who've been fishing for a long time can use them. That is a false statement. These are actually very easy to use if you put in the time. It should take you only about a day to figure out how to use it. So I'm going to teach you the way that I learned how. Well, I didn't learn it, I actually did it on my own. This is the way that I set up my baitcaster. So what I do is when I go out there, now hence when you first start, if you've never thrown a baitcaster, you're going to want to start off with a lure that's got some weight to it. It's just going to make the casting a lot easier on you when you're first learning. So what I do when I get out there with a new baitcaster, I put my line on it, put it on my rod, go out there with the rod and the reel. And when I first start, I take the brake part on the outside and I set it all the way to its max. So mine says max on the outside, but for other reels it can say 10, 11, 12. So that's what I first do. Then I get over on the spool tension knob and I'll have it pretty tight. So when I go out there, go ahead and cast it. You're not gonna have any backlash at first, but it's also gonna go maybe like 10 or 15, 20 feet. So then what you wanna do is you wanna start loosening this tension knob until you start feeling your spool backlash. And you can actually loosen this all the way off. So you wanna be careful when you're loosening this. You don't want it all the way off, but you want it to where it's pretty loose. So then what I do is once I get it to where it's starting to backlash, you go ahead and tighten it a couple of turns, and then you start working on the brake part. So you start going less and less and less with each cast. Now you're not going to go out there and master it in 10-15 minutes. It's not what I'm saying, but you're going to have to put some time into it. It's not going to take a lot of time. It's not going to be super hard. It's memory. Now what I forgot to mention is when you're actually throwing it, you're actually going to press on this thumb bar so it goes free when you're throwing it. But anyways, oh crap, I just backlashed it pretty bad doing that. Anyways, what you want to do is once you get to a part on your brake when you're loosening it where it's starting to backlash, you want to go back tighter on the brake part again. So go ahead and if you're at 8, go ahead and go up to 8.5, 9, and then start messing with your spool tension. Get it less, get it more, wherever you're finding a happy medium where it's not backlashing, where you're getting a pretty good casting distance at. Now, when there's wind involved, you're gonna have to go tighter on your brake or on your spool tension because the physics into a bait caster is when there's more resistance, more wind resistance, it's gonna not allow your lure to go out as far as you want it or as far as it normally does. Now, you're not gonna just keep it at the same setting all the time. When there's wind involved, if you're using a different weighted lure, you're gonna have to learn to mess with it and get it to the setting it needs to be. When there's wind, your lure is gonna have more wind resistance on it if it's wind that's coming at you. So when you actually set up the setting on your bait caster, that spool is going to come out at the same speed every single time, no matter what the wind is coming at you, coming forward. It doesn't matter. So if you've got wind coming at you, that your lure isn't gonna go out as far as it usually does because it's got that wind resistance, but your spool's gonna keep going, which is gonna make backlash. So what you wanna do is, if you got wind coming at you, go ahead and tighten up your knobs. You can still throw into the wind. People say, oh, it's harder. I'm gonna go throw, what do you call them, spinning reels. I'm gonna go throw a spinning reel because it's windy. You can throw a baitcaster into the wind. You just have to train your mind, train your body how to throw it. So also, when you have lures, some lures are gonna be heavier, some lures are gonna be lighter. If you have your baitcaster set to a heavy lure and you're throwing a lighter lure, your spool is going to come out a lot faster than when you actually need it to be, and you're going to get backlash. If you have a lighter lure and you have that set to when you have a heavier lure on, you're not going to get as much distance with your heavier lure. So you just always have to be messing with your knobs. I mean, and it's not hard. You're going to learn. It's a lot easier when you actually start doing it, but yeah. So question number 2, how do I avoid getting backlash while I'm throwing a baitcaster? Well, this one's a pretty easy question, but it might be hard, so I'm going to go ahead and cover it. All you do is, once you have your setting on your brake, go ahead and, if you're getting backlash, tighten your spool knob. Tighten it to where you're not getting backlash anymore, and you should be good. If tightening your spool knob is making you get less distance, then go ahead and loosen your brake and keep your spool knob where it's at, and you're going to get more distance. Really, like I said, this is a pretty intimate reel. It's a lot more finesse and stuff than a spinning reel. You're going to be able to place your lures a lot better with a casting reel. These are pretty popular around Texas. If you go on a guide service trip, your guide's probably gonna have 2 or 3 of these with him. He's gonna have a spinning reel for people that come in from the north, don't know how to throw a baitcaster. But they're pretty easy to learn, and they're not as hard as everybody says they are. And question number 3, how do I throw a popping cork with a bait casting reel? So like I said with the lures, that popping cork's only going to make the end heavier, so you're actually going to be able to go looser on your tension. You're going to be able to throw it pretty far, but you're going to have to constantly mess with your settings. Make sure you can go ahead and actually go looser with your brake when you're throwing a popping cork, but something that you're going to want to have when you're throwing a bait casting reel with a popping cork is you're going to want a little longer rod. So like normally I throw about a 6'6", 6'9" rod. With a popping cork, you're going to want to throw at least a 7-foot rod. You're going to want it pretty heavy, so I would say like a medium rod with a moderate tip, because it's going to help you. I mean, if you have a really loose tip, it's just going to make it a lot harder throwing. You're probably not going to get as much distance. It's a lot of different variables, but what you want is you're going to want a medium rod with a moderate tip. Now, if you still get backlash when you think you have your settings right, and they are right most of the time, don't get discouraged. Everybody still backlashes. I backlash all the time. Professionals backlash all the time. It's just something that it's just normal. So when you get a backlash, don't get discouraged. Pick that sucker out and start throwing it more. Now let's talk about your drag setting. So your drag setting is right underneath your reel handle. Like I said, it's the star drag. So turning it makes it go tighter. Loosening it, of course, makes it go looser. When I'm fishing for redfish, flounder, I usually have my drag pretty tight, almost to where no line goes out. That's just me though, that's just how I am. But when I'm trout fishing, I have my drag a little looser. Let me just give y'all an example. Let me find the end of this line. So this is the line right here. Right now, let's say I'm red fishing, flounder fishing. My thumb is now engaged, so it's not free spool anymore. The line should barely come out. It should take a lot of force to take it out. Now, when I'm trout fishing, I have the drag a little looser, actually probably pretty significantly looser. It's gonna be able just to come out with, I wanna say It shouldn't take that much effort, but once you get there, you probably want to give it a little bit more. But the reason for that is trout have a lot softer mouths than redfish and flounder. Some people actually have ripped the lips off of trout, and plus you don't want to lose a trophy trout. I mean, that would just break your heart. So I would go looser with the drag when you're going after trout. Now here's a few clips on how I get a baitcaster ready on the water. Alright, so I'm out at the pond. So the first thing you want to do, like I said, is go ahead and crank your brake all the way up to the max setting. So mine says max on it, but some different reels says 10, 12, whatever it is, the highest setting. And I've got the tension knob the spool tension knob pretty tight. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is cast it out and see how far I can go with it. So with that cast, I got about 50 feet. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna keep that setting on the brake that it's at, but I'm gonna go ahead and keep loosening the tension knob looser and looser until I can start feeling it backlash when I cast out. All right, so now I've found the setting on my tension knob to where right before it starts backlashing, you wanna go ahead and go one more turn tighter so that it's at a good place so you don't get any backlash. So now what I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna start messing with the brake. So each cast, I'm gonna go looser and looser on my brake until it starts backlashing. All right, so I found the setting on my brake control where it's starting to backlash. What you wanna go ahead and do is go one more turn tighter and then start playing with the spool tension until it stops backlashing, gives you a good distance and a happy medium with your casting. Alright guys, we're at the end of this video. Thank y'all once again for watching. I hope this helps y'all out with bait casters and doesn't confuse y'all too much. Go ahead and go to the comment section. Tell me what kind of reel you use and why you use it. Until next time, peace.